service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torched light of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna, assembled devotees, thank you for being here. Some of the devotees are doing a drama practice, I hear. So we'll hear about the drama of Lord Parashuram. The Lord is described as an actor on a stage in the first canto of Bhagavatam. And it's amazing that he is immersed in the Leela. The Lord, by the power of Yoga Maya, is able to enjoy different pastimes. And these pastimes are of all different varieties and flavors. So we get sweet pastimes of Krishna with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd boys and gopis in Vrindavan. And we also get pastimes like Lord Nrsimhadev ripping apart the Asura Hiranyakashipu. And we hear about Lord Parashuram chopping to pieces thousands, hundreds of thousands of warriors. So today we'll get in the mood of Virya Rasa, which is the heroic type of battle mood that the Lord likes to enjoy. Chapter 16 picks up from where we left off yesterday. We can read until text. Which text do we finish on?
So we actually do
1 to 16. Okay. So, not so many verses. Let's just read them together. 1 to 9 only. Okay. Okay, please read with me. Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear Maharaj Parikshit, son of the Kuru dynasty, when Lord Parashuram was given this order by his father, he immediately agreed, saying, 'Let it be so.' For 1 complete year he traveled to holy places. Then he returned to his father's residence." 1 second. What is Lord Parashuram responding to? What happened yesterday? Yes. It's sinful to kill a king, his father Jamadagni told him. Because the king is the representation of all the devatas. Yes. So you should atone by going on pilgrimage. Thank you. That's right. If we have a mic to pass around, that would be helpful. Okay, text 2. Once when the wife of Jamadagni went to the bank of the Ganges to get water, she saw the king of the Gandharvas, decorated with a garland of lotuses and sporting in the Ganges with celestial women, apsaras. She had gone to bring water from the Ganges, but when she saw Chitraratha, the king of the Gandharvas, sporting with the celestial girls, she was somewhat inclined toward him and failed to remember that the time for the fire sacrifice was passing. Later, understanding that the time for offering the sacrifice had passed, Renuka feared a curse from her husband. Therefore, when she returned, she simply put the water pot before him and stood there with folded hands. The great sage Jamadagni understood the adultery in the mind of his wife. Therefore, he was very angry and told his sons, "My dear sons, kill this sinful woman." But the sons did not carry out his order. Jamadagni then ordered his youngest son, Parashuram, to kill his brothers, who had disobeyed this order, and his mother, who had mentally committed adultery. Lord Parashuram, knowing the power of his father, who was practiced in meditation and austerity, killed his mother and brothers immediately. So, this is quite a lot. I'm wondering if there's explanation in the purport. Not. So, the next verse, okay. Jamadagni, the son of Satyavati, was very much pleased with Parashuram and asked him to take any benediction he liked. Lord Parashuram replied, "Let my mother and brothers live again and not remember having been killed by me. This is the benediction I ask." Very nice. Happily ever after. Thereafter, by the benediction of Jamadagni, Lord Parashuram's mother and brothers immediately came alive and were very happy, as if awakened from sound sleep. Lord Parashuram had killed his relatives in accordance with his father's order because he was fully aware of his father's power, austerity, and learning. My dear King Parikshit, the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, who were defeated by the superior strength of Parashuram, never achieved happiness, for they always remembered the killing of their father. Okay. There are some bewildering things in the scriptures that we may not understand at first glance, and the approach that I have found effective is to say, one day, with mature guidance, I can perhaps understand what is going on here. Right now, I don't understand, but I have enough faith in the scripture thus far that I'm not going to abandon the scripture, I'm not going to abandon the practice, just going to put this to the side and say, when the time is right, or even now, let me ask someone who knows better. Prabhupada Priya is my main go-to. And I just remember how the understanding of the scriptures can be likened to a university. And I understand perhaps the 101, 201 levels, and I've applied that in my life. I've benefited, and the 301 and beyond, I don't yet understand. So one day I can understand these higher concepts. So hopefully these types of statements don't shake your faith too much, and hopefully we are a little disturbed to hear something like we just read. We should feel a little concerned and inquire to know further, at least for the sake of enlightening those who don't have faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because statements such as these, pastimes such as these, could make someone repulsed from ever reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why it's in the 9th canto, for one. Just a few thoughts on challenging statements in Scripture. There's a whole course called hermeneutics, ISKCON hermeneutics. I would highly recommend for anyone who would like to deepen their understanding of why do we believe what we believe, and how do we study and interpret what is in the scripture, what is metaphorical, what is literal. I found it very helpful. So, text 9. We're hearing Shukadev Goswami addressing the Raja, King Parikshit, and he's referring to Arjunasya in the first line, which is referring to Kartavirya Arjuna, the Sutta, the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. This first line, he's addressing Parikshit, referring in this way. And then they always remembered that their fathers having been killed by Parashuram. Well, he didn't kill his father, right? He killed the mother and sons. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I was mixing them up. Okay, so the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna always remembered that Parashuram had killed their father. Yes, that's the second line. And the third line is just defeated by the superior power of Lord Parashuram. Rama Virya. So I said at the beginning we're discussing Virya Rasa, and here in this verse, Virya. And they were never happy at any time, the fourth line is saying, because of this. So yesterday we discussed which quality? Forgiveness. And what prevents us from forgiving? It starts with a G, and it rhymes with nudge. Grudge. When we have a grudge, we don't want to let go of some wrong that has happened to us. So it appears that the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna were holding on to a grudge against Lord Parashuram. Okay, now we know what we're saying. Yerjunasya sutarajan smaranta swapiturvadam Rama virya parabhuta lebhire sharmana kvachit. So let's try alternating style. Yerjunasya sutarajan smaranta swapiturvadam Rama virya parabhuta lebhire sharmana kvachit. Yerjunasya sutarajan smaranta swapiturvadam. Bruce. Rama virya parab. Yeah, just one by one. Go ahead. Epire sharmana kvachit. Yejunasya sutarajan smaranta swapiturvadham Rama virya parabhuta lebhide sharmana kvachit. Yejunasya sutarajan Rama virya parabhuta lebhide sharmana kvachit. Thank you all. Translation. My dear King Parikshit, the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, who were defeated by the superior strength of Parashuram, never achieved happiness, for they always remembered the killing of their father. Purport. Yes, Amal Harinam. Oh, that was quick. Go ahead.
Jamadagni was certainly very powerful due to his austerities, but because of a slight offense by his poor wife Renuka, he ordered that she be killed. This certainly was a sinful act, and therefore Jamadagni was killed by the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. As described herein, Lord Parshurama was also infected by sin because of killing Kartavirya Arjuna, although this was not very offensive. Therefore, whether one be Kartavirya Arjuna, Lord Parshurama, Jamagni, or whoever one may be, one must act very cautiously and
Sagaciously, like a sage.
Sagaciously. Otherwise, one must suffer the result of sinful activities. This is the lesson we receive from Vedic literature.
Wow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Parashuram was also infected by sin. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, can he be infected by sin? No. So this is quite an interesting section of Bhagavatam. I remember hearing that in Canto 9, we hear some bewildering statements and pastimes, and perhaps it's meant to prepare us for the 10th canto, to test our faith a little bit. You've been riding the Srimad Bhagavatam roller coaster for 8 cantos now, and you're just about to get to Krishna's pastimes. The 10th canto is like the face of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's so sweet and wonderful, and yet, are we ready to approach it? Is our faith deep enough? So we hear some curious statements. Lord Parashuram was also infected by sin. And even a great sage like Jamadagni committed a sinful act. So Prabhupada gives us a great lesson. I can't fully explain some of these things. We would need Prabhupada Priya's guidance. But no matter who one is, even if one is a great sage, even if someone is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one must act very cautiously and sagaciously, or one will suffer the results of sinful activities. We hear a similar example in the prequel to Srimad Bhagavatam's telling. Sutta Goswami is speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, and Sutta Goswami, before sitting down and speaking, who was speaking before him? His father, correct? His father was Romaharshan Sutta. And Romaharshan Sutta, when Lord Balaram came into the assembly, and I don't know if it was exactly the same place, but this was before Sutta Goswami took the seat to represent his father. Lord Balaram came into the assembly where Romaharshan Sutta was speaking Bhagavatam, or he was speaking some Krishna Katha. And Romaharshan Sutta did not give the proper respect to Lord Balaram, although he is the Supreme Lord who walked into the assembly. There was perhaps some tinge of pride. And so what did Balaram do? He picked up a blade of grass from the ground and he threw it at Romaharshan Sutta and killed him. And as we discussed yesterday, even when Lord Balaram or Lord Krishna, Lord Parashuram kills someone, it's ultimately good for them. They get liberation. And Lord Balaram wanted to teach a lesson. You should respect great personalities. He's not proud, but teaches a lesson. And then the Brahmanas assembled said, "My dear Lord Balaram, we know that everything you do is perfect, but still I think to set an example for the common people, you should atone for your sin." Just like we saw Jamadagni, who told Parashuram that you should atone for this sinful act of killing the king, Kartavirya Arjuna. And so then Lord Balaram goes on pilgrimage. And so Lord Balaram wasn't present for Kurukshetra war, actually. He was out visiting the holy places like Parashuram. And we also see that Lord Ram, as we read about in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is setting the example of an ideal king. And he understands the principle from Bhagavad Gita, which he spoke as Lord Krishna, which is Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. Anyone? Tat Tad Eve Taro Jana Sayat Pramanam Kurute Lokas Tad Anuvartate. A very common verse that Srila Prabhupada cites, which says that whatever action a great person performs, common people follow. And whatever standards that person sets, all the world pursues. So, although the Supreme Lord doesn't have to do anything, he is Swarat, completely independent to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants. And this is what he does in his most intimate pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan. But here in this material world, he knows that people are crooked and will take any excuse to do sinful activities. So, as Lord Ram, he sets the ideal example of how to be a virtuous person, especially a virtuous leader, a virtuous son of Dasharath Maharaj, a virtuous brother and husband. In all respects, Lord Ram set the proper examples. And we hear that Lord Krishna doesn't always do this. Like there's some examples where Krishna does things that may bewilder, like any examples you can think of? Yes, Rohan? Damodar Lila? How is this one? Mm. Yeah, that's true. Krishna is unique for having his childhood pastimes. And also he's naughty. I think a better example is that he steals. Lord Ram doesn't steal because he's setting the example of an ideal person. But Krishna steals. We actually glorify him practically every morning. We're glorifying Krishna for being Kircho. Yeah, actually, the name of our worshipable Lord here is Kira Chor. Yeah, Chora means thief. No, Makana Taskara, the butter thief. We were just singing this morning. Gopi Vastra, Gopi Jana Vastra. Yeah, he steals the clothing of the gopis. So Krishna is aware that he needs to set the right example, and yet he enjoys his pastimes of stealing. And he also, with the gopis, they're married. And so from the mundane perspective, this is sinful. This is very improper. And yet, it is the sweetest type of love. There's a formal love that Krishna enjoys with the queens of Dwaraka, and even more freed from any formalities and restrictions of marriage is the unwedded swakiya love that he experiences with the gopis. So, at the same time, Krishna, as a king in Dwaraka, sets the proper example for how someone should live, similar to Lord Ramachandra. We read that Lord Krishna wakes up in the morning and he does yajna, and he also meditates on himself. Yeah. We should not meditate on ourselves, though this is our conditioned state. Aren't you sometimes chanting japa? For me, it's not sometimes, it's often. And I'm just meditating on myself. And then I catch myself, oh yeah, I should stop planning, I should stop thinking about what I did yesterday, my desires, my needs, my body. Let me think about Krishna. So Krishna meditates on himself, setting the example that we also should wake up early and do the yajna of japa and kirtan. And he gives charity to brahmanas and so on. So those are a few reflections on the Lord's. Simultaneously, he can do whatever he wants. He's Swarat, Hare Krishna, Vital Bhakta. And he also sets the right example for all of us. So now, let's explore the verse itself. Shukadeva Goswami says that these sons of Kartavirya Arjuna never achieved happiness at any time. Lebhiri sharma na kvachit. Why? Because they were always remembering the suffering that Lord Parashuram had caused their family. Fortunately for them, they were meditating on Lord Parashuram and not just some criminal. Because even if you meditate on the Lord in an unfavorable way, it's still purifying. Just like Kamsa. Kamsa meditated on Krishna always. Kamsa was very Krishna conscious. And yet what was the problem? Yeah, we can say Kamsa had a grudge. He specifically wanted to kill Krishna. Yeah, the sons here, they don't want to kill Parashuram. Maybe they do, but it doesn't say directly. But Kamsa, it was planning. Not just planning, was executing his plans of killing Krishna. So many demons we hear about. right? Tell me some names of demons that Kamsa sent to try to kill Krishna. Aghasura, Putana, Bakasura, Pralambasura, Arishtasura, Kaliya, Trinavarta, Dhenukasura, so many Krishna sent. And we get to read about these soon. Just wait a few more chapters and you'll get to hear all these wonderful pastimes of Krishna killing these demons. So Kamsa was always thinking of killing Krishna, but this was still good for him. And even if someone is lustfully attracted towards Lord Krishna, even if someone is envious and angry towards Lord Krishna, still that's better than atheism. It's better than hedonistic materialism. Because Krishna is like the sun, and he will extract purity from anyone with whom he comes in contact. So these sons were fortunate to be meditating on Lord Parashuram, but we see a powerful example from them, that if we're meditating on what someone has done to us, how they have victimized us, how they have hurt us, how this may manifest in a roommate in the ashram or at our home. This may be directed towards a family member, co-worker, a leader, whatever. There's so many opportunities for us to think ourselves the victims and to meditate on the wrongs that someone has done towards us. But the result will be na lebhire sharma na kvachit. We won't be happy at any time, because it's like we are carrying poison, always meditating on the wrongs someone has done to us. And if you have poison in your own stomach, it's not going to cause any harm to the person that you are upset with. It will just poison your own body. So holding on to a grudge, holding on to anger, envy, jealousy, this is like carrying poison within our own heart. And we will not be happy. So we need to manifest the quality we heard about yesterday of forgiveness. And who manifests this quality of forgiveness? Jamadagni said that. Brahmanas manifest this quality. So it's a quality in the mode of goodness. We need to pull ourselves up from passion and ignorance and come into a Brahminical way of life so that we can live in a state of forgiveness, so that we can be free in our exchanges. And like Krishna says in the Gita, we can not be disturbed by anyone and also not disturb anyone. Wouldn't that be a nice way to live? Even we can see on book distribution, it's a great training for this. You go out on the street and there's so many people who are disturbed by our presence, and so many people who disturb us. People just ignore you. People will criticize you. This one gentleman yesterday so forcefully, no! As if I was a dog that he was shooing away. So, to learn how to not be disturbed by others and, not only to not be disturbed by others, not only to not cause disturbance to others, but also positively to bring pleasure to others and to feel pleasure in the association of others. Lord Shiva's example is cited in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. He had this quality where he has this quality of magnifying even the tiniest good thing that someone else would do, or some little quality that is present, and see that as their main feature. So an example of this is 26 2nd Avenue, New York City, 1965 or 66. A homeless gentleman came into the room where Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and probably intoxicated, likely reeking from some odors of the street. And he had some toilet paper with him, and he stumbled through the room and brought it into the bathroom and left it, and then walked out. And Srila Prabhupada acknowledged his service. Srila Prabhupada was very pleased. He didn't say, you smell bad, get out of here. He didn't shoo him away. He was very grateful to have the service of this deranged man. This is the quality of a great soul, to see good even when there is a little bit, even when there is no good qualities. A exalted soul can see some good there. And the opposite is to find fault even when there is none, or to magnify fault even when there is only a small quantity. It's easy for us to get complacent when we spend a lot of time with each other. Do we sometimes experience that even though we know someone has very nice qualities, we can't help but think about some problem they have, some little fault they have? And it's as if we become blind. Stabdha hi pashyanti hi chirna nishkata. Due to pride, we can't see the good qualities of great souls. So we need to remedy this by speaking positively about those around us, thinking positively about them, meditating on the good qualities of the devotees around us, talking about those good qualities, and very quickly we'll feel happiness in this. So I'll finish here and look for your reflections and questions. The main lessons we discussed were the Lord can do whatever He wants, and He often does, especially in the spiritual. He always does whatever He wants in the spiritual world, and when He's here, He makes sure to set the right example so that we don't get bewildered and we can go back to Godhead and participate in His pastimes where we're just freely pleasing Krishna. And we also discussed the fault, the great hurdle of grudges and how we won't be happy if we're holding on to grudges. And so we need to learn this quality of forgiveness and seeing the good in others. And we can do that by glorifying the devotees. Yes, so thank you for your attention. We can now hear some of your reflections. Yeah, let's have Rohan and Monil and Ishan and Devanshi in that order.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for today's class. My question is regarding the canto that first we discussed Lord Ram, then Lord Parshuram, and Prabhu today you mentioned that now after this we will discussing pastimes of Lord Krishna. So my question is that why Shukdev Goswami didn't went to the order and change the order of the incarnation, because first Lord Parshuram came, then Lord Ram came, and then Lord Krishna came. And in the first also, like when Shukdev Goswami started the Bhagavatam, he first mentioned the Varadev, then Narsimhadev, then Vamadev, and then in the 8th canto he mentioned Matsya and Kurma. So why is the difference in the order?
Why does Shukdev Goswami jump around chronologically? The Srimad Bhagavatam is not chronological, but it is logical. And that's what I've heard from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. We can understand one aspect is that Shukdev Goswami is a Mahabhagavata, pure devotee, and he is relishing the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, and so he'll get carried away. Even in Bhagavatam classes that we hear in Nuramunadham, devotees will sometimes become very excited by a certain topic, and they'll get lost talking about that. And then, oh yeah, we need to come back to the verse. So what to speak of an exalted soul, a highly exalted soul like Shukadeva Goswami. We see another example in the second canto that he begins his speaking to Maharaj Parikshit in response to Parikshit's questions. What is the duty of all people, especially what is the duty of those who are about to die? And Shukadeva Goswami just comes in really strong, destroying our hopes for materialistic happiness and cutting down demigod worship and cutting down universal form meditation and yogic meditation, Ashtanga yoga, and establishes bhakti as supreme. And then, I think it's chapter 4, he recognizes that, oh, I didn't chant the invocation mantras. Not exactly. You know, we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so, Shukadeva Goswami in chapter 4 of Canto 2 starts saying some prayers. And so we might read that, and why is he all of a sudden starting to recite some prayers? This is the explanation Gauranga Darshan Prabhu gave, is that he recognizes, oh, I need to, offer some formal prayers to the Lord. Perhaps he was thinking to set the right example, like we see in Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. Okay, if I don't follow any sort of standard, then people will get bewildered and they'll follow my example. So even for someone who is on an exalted platform, even if they're in, there's Vaidhi Bhakti for beginners, and at a mature stage one moves into Raganuga Bhakti. So even if someone is on a more mature stage of Bhakti, still one follows the external processes to set the right example for newer devotees so they don't get bewildered and lost on the path. So I can share those few reflections. Thank you, Rohan. And let's just go actually order of geography. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your lecture, Prabhu. Just wanted to ask, it's a very different question in a way. We see here Jamadagni as well, being really powerful with his austerities and also being angry. And we see that throughout Bhagavatam, where we see a lot of these highly scholarly sages who have really bad temper, very uncontrollable temper, and give curses to everyone.
Like Durvasa.
Yes, Durvasa. And a lot more, And why is that so, Because aren't these Brahmanas, Brahmana is supposed to be tolerant and peaceful. So why is that so? And secondly, this may also happen with devotees, who may find their ego increasing, especially false ego, with the austerities that they do in the temple or the services they do. So how can we avoid this as well as devotees? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, very thoughtful question. How is it that Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, great souls can be overwhelmed with anger, pride? There's a nice verse, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it says that Maya is so powerful. Gita, we hear Daivihesha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Maya is so powerful that even great elevated sages and saints can become overwhelmed by its power. So we shouldn't be surprised. And we also should be careful not to judge and criticize. We don't know what's happening. We can get in a lot of trouble. So if we see in this community, for example, there may be some senior Vaishnava we see doing something that doesn't appear right, or speaking something that doesn't appear right. We shouldn't immediately judge and criticize. We will be contaminated by that. Though, if there is a serious concern, we should address it in the proper, respectful way by bringing it to the right authority who can do something. But we should be very careful not to criticize great personalities. And it should be a lesson for us, as Prabhupada said, that even the Supreme Lord can be affected by sin, which is not exactly true, but it's an extreme statement for that lesson. I hope this is helpful. Thank you. Devanshi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, You mentioned that we should forgive and unsee the wrong and still be thankful for the service, just how Prabhupada did for that deranged man you said, who kept the tissue paper, toilet paper. whatever it was.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part. Maybe if you angle it towards
Sorry.
you, I think that's better.
Okay, is that better?
Better.
Okay, so you said Prabhupada was thankful for the service of that deranged man. I have been conflicted with this situation, which I need help with. So there's this person, I won't name him, who is doing some service at the temple, let's say, and he doesn't have the right consciousness to do that service as of now. And one of the leaders, because of the lack of people who could do that service, is still give that service to that person again, which is somewhat related to newcomers, right? So is it okay for me to stand up and be like, hey Prabhus, this is not right, like this person doesn't have the right consciousness to lead that program, or should I be very forgiven and be like
Yeah.
you know?
This is where forgiveness becomes complicated.
Yeah.
Yes. You have a formal position as a leader, right? So you have a different situation than most of us here, that most of us are part of the community, and it's not our duty to find fault and make corrections. But your duty is to stand up and correct and voice when there is something off, because you actually have been given a power and influence. So if an individual is disrupting members of the community in a serious way, or there's a danger of that, then it should be seriously considered. At the same time, the spiritual life of that individual needs to be considered, because if they're serving in Gopinath's temple, then they're a Vaishnava, and we don't want to have them go away and be discouraged, what to speak of, becoming critical, speaking ill about devotees. So it's very sensitive. And it reminds me of the first canto. There's the intrigue of Ashwatthama. And there's different opinions. Bhima and Krishna are saying, kill him. And Draupadi and Nakula, Sahadev, Arjuna, Yudhishthira say, save him, he's a Brahmana, he's our teacher. And so what is best in that situation? Arjuna has to figure it out. Did I say Arjuna said he wants to kill him? Arjuna's confused, he's stuck in the middle, yeah. That's his position. And so Krishna smiles and is challenging Arjuna to use his intelligence and figure it out. So we need to consult mature devotees and pray sincerely so we can do what is best. It's a delicate situation that you're in, but your sincere prayers and consultation Krishna will reveal what's best. And we can talk more details, specifically, privately, if I can be of any service.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for...
Angle it towards you. Yeah, I
Okay.
realize these mics work best that way.
Yes. So, my first question is, how do we not fall into victim mentality? We're talking about victim mentality. It's very easy for us to think that, everything is happening to me. World is happening to me. Everyone is just doing bad things to me. How do we not fall into that and actually take charge and do something ourselves?
How to not fall into victim mentality and think that everything is happening to me, people have wronged me. One suggestion is meditating on the other person, and rather than having some static image of who they are or what happened, we think we have the absolute reality. That's our problem. We think, this person is like this, and they did this because of this. We assume we know their intention, we assume we know their character, And yet, if we dive a little deeper, if we have the opportunity, we can actually talk with them. If there are people we are close with who we feel have wronged us. And I found, especially with devotees, most of the time they sincerely made a mistake and they actually recognize the mistake and they're feeling guilty about it and they're working on improving themselves. So exploring a little deeper where it's possible is helpful. And where it's not possible, at least we can give the benefit of the doubt and try to imagine, if I were in that person's circumstances, I may have done something similar. We can also reflect on our past and think of the wrongs we have done towards others that we regret, and yet because of the circumstances we felt that was the right thing to do, or we were overwhelmed with anger and emotion. These are a few reflections. Yeah.
So one more question. So if we are in a devotee circle and when we hear some criticism, not very critical, but in a humorous way, like we are joking about some devotees and not talking about the good ones, but some faults, some bad qualities, something. Is it very offensive, and what should we do in that situation? Because we are not actually speaking of these, but we are listening. That is also wrong.
Yeah, I have battled with this question my whole time in Krishna consciousness. I still don't fully understand it. What I can understand is the mood is essential. Because Krishna and the cowherd boys make fun of each other. The cowherd boys even tease Krishna. The Radharani and her gopis, they chastise Krishna. And it's all in pure love. And so it deepens their bonds. So we need to see, what is my mood if I am speaking in this way about other devotees? If you're not here and I'm joking with Sahadev about you, is it in a sweet, loving way? Or am I actually trying to cut you down? And if someone else is doing it, then we need to be sensitive and feel in our heart, okay, what is the mood here? And knowing that person, and maybe we even can talk with that person and just express, in that conversation, I felt a little disturbed in my heart. Can you just tell me a little more what was going on in your mind? Because I want to be very careful about, how we talk about devotees. I'm not assuming you're speaking in a wrong way, but I just want to know more because I'm still working on understanding this. So it's a very difficult one. We should really err on the side of caution, though. That is a safe principle. Better, if we're going to tease devotees, we do it in front of them and see how they react. And then actually, if I am teasing you in front of you, and you get it, you appreciate I'm doing it in a loving way, then when you're not here, I can feel a little more confident that if I'm joking with Sahadev, I'm not doing it because I don't like you. I'm remembering you fondly and the kind of brotherly rasa we're experiencing. These are a few reflections, but let's please err on the side of caution, and when we do feel disturbance, let's talk about it. Yeah.
And also, Prabhu, if we feel little disturbed in our heart, that's a sign that it's like we should do something about it. We should at least go and talk to that person that what I heard, can you say more about it? Like, I was kind of disturbed. So I think that is a good approach. We should go and talk to them.
If we feel some disturbance in our heart, especially if it's consistent and maybe consistent with a particular individual or a specific situation that comes up repeatedly. Yes. And also, we're conditioned souls. It's no surprise that we have some envy in our hearts. And we are conditioned from our upbringing, most of us, that teasing, cutting down others is seen as a good thing. Yeah. So let's be very careful. Thank you for the thoughtful, mature question. And thank you all for your kind attention. I hope we can all go deeper in our forgiveness, in our Brahminical lifestyles, all for the aim of bringing pleasure to Gopinath and one day if he so desires, we can reunite with him in his eternal pastimes and experience what it's like to tease Krishna and to be free and not have to worry about all of the contaminations of this world. Or if Krishna wants to keep us here in this world, birth after birth, to make others happy, then that also we can be open to. Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatat Bhaktirahaitu Ki Tvai. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vanshakalpatarubhyascha.